The law of relativity is one of the most profound principles that shape our understanding of the universe and our experience of life. It asserts that everything is relative and interconnected. This law helps us understand the deeper truths about how life operates, how we perceive reality, and how we create meaning from our experiences. By exploring this law in depth, we can unlock powerful insights that help us better navigate challenges and embrace the interconnected nature of existence. Today, we will talk about the law of relativity. So before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. 1. What is the law of relativity? The law of relativity suggests that nothing exists in isolation, and everything must be understood in comparison to something else. In its simplest form, this law states that all things are relative to other things. Our experience of the world, and the way we perceive it, is shaped by our point of view. This principle not only governs the physical universe, as in the theory of relativity in physics, but also our daily experiences, emotions, and relationships. Everything is connected, and our understanding of any given object, event, or idea is always shaped by its relationship to something else. Without relativity, there would be no understanding of contrast, perspective, or context. For example, we can only understand what hot is by comparing it to what cold is. We recognize light because we experience darkness, and we understand good because we can also perceive bad. 2. The principle of relative experience. One of the key aspects of the law of relativity is the understanding that our perceptions and experiences are relative to our position or frame of reference. This is the core idea in understanding how our experiences are shaped by our perspective, and how the meaning of events or circumstances can vary based on the viewpoint from which they are observed. Example: personal struggles and triumphs. Take, for instance, personal challenges. At first glance, a situation that seems overwhelmingly difficult might appear more manageable or even trivial when compared to a different scenario. For example, someone experiencing a tough breakup might feel devastated. However, that same person might later compare their situation to a person who has gone through a much more severe hardship, like losing a loved one. In this case, the comparison leads to a shift in perspective. What once seemed like an insurmountable challenge might now feel like something they can overcome. This is the power of relativity. The way we view our struggles is based on how they compare to other things in life. By shifting our perspective, we can see that our problems are not as big as they once seemed. And by comparing them to even bigger challenges, we can find ways to develop resilience and gratitude. The role of context. In the same way that physical laws like gravity behave differently in varying contexts. For instance, the difference between the force of gravity on Earth versus the Moon. The law of relativity shows how our emotional and mental states fluctuate depending on the context or environment we find ourselves in. What might seem like a major issue today may not feel as significant in the grand scheme of things. Conversely, what once seemed trivial may suddenly appear much more important when viewed through a different lens. 3. Relativity and the nature of time. One of the most striking examples of the law of relativity comes from physics, particularly through the theory of time dilation in Einstein's theory of relativity. Time is not an absolute, unchanging quantity, but can appear to move at different rates depending on the speed at which an object is moving or the strength of a gravitational field. In practical terms, this means that time flows differently for different observers based on their relative motion or proximity to a gravitational source. For example, an astronaut traveling in space at a high speed would age more slowly than someone on Earth, as time would move more slowly for the astronaut compared to those who are stationary on Earth. While this is a more scientific interpretation of the law of relativity, its implications for our everyday lives are profound. Time, like all experiences, is relative. It can feel slow when we are waiting for something, and can pass in the blink of an eye when we are engaged in something enjoyable. Our experience of time is shaped by how we compare it to other experiences or moments in our lives. 4. Relativity and perception of self. The law of relativity also has deep implications for how we perceive our own identity and self-worth. We often compare ourselves to others in an effort to evaluate our own value, success, or happiness. But this kind of comparison is often misleading because the value of an individual is relative to their unique circumstances, challenges, and achievements. When we compare ourselves to others, we may perceive ourselves as lacking in some way. But this perception is based on an incomplete picture. For example, comparing our financial success to that of a well-established entrepreneur might make us feel inadequate. But this comparison fails to account for the entrepreneur's different starting point, experiences, and resources. In reality, our self-worth and success should be evaluated based on our own unique journey and progress, not by comparing ourselves to others. Each person's path is unique, and we can choose to celebrate our growth without diminishing our achievements based on comparisons. Shifting our perspective on self-worth. Understanding that our perception of ourselves is relative can free us from the trap of constant comparison. Instead of viewing success through the lens of competition with others, we can learn to measure our success based on personal goals, values, and achievements. This shift can lead to greater peace of mind, increased confidence, and a more fulfilling life. 5. Relativity in relationships. In relationships, the law of relativity explains how people relate to one another in various ways based on shared experiences, differing viewpoints, and contrasting values. We experience relationships through the lens of comparison. We compare how we feel in one relationship to how we felt in another, how we view someone based on our previous experiences, or how we perceive others based on societal expectations. For example, if we compare a romantic partner to someone we were once in a relationship with, we might have a different experience of that partner based on past dynamics. In contrast, if we compare the current partner to what we've been through in past relationships, we may see them in a more positive or negative light, depending on how the new experiences relate to our past ones. Similarly, the law of relativity helps us understand how our values, expectations, and life experiences shape how we perceive and react to others. The energy and emotions we project onto relationships are often colored by our personal history and by the comparisons we make in our minds. 6. The power of shifting perspectives. One of the most powerful applications of the law of relativity is the ability to shift perspectives in order to change how we experience life. By recognizing that our perceptions are shaped by relative comparisons, we can begin to choose how we view our circumstances. 7. The interconnectedness of all things. The law of relativity is not just about the relationships between individual objects or experiences. It is about the interconnectedness of all things in the universe. The experiences of each person, situation, or event are relative to the broader interconnected web of existence. In this sense, everything and everyone is in relationship with one another, creating a grand interdependent flow of energy and experience. See you in the next video. In our next episode, we'll dive into the 10th Universal Law and explore its profound meaning and impact. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up. Leave a comment and click the button to subscribe. Stay tuned.